Muy buenos días, tardes o noches, querido público de Proyecto Grado Cero. Pues nos encontramos en la librería Rosario Castellanos del Fondo de Cultura Económica aquí en la Ciudad de México y nos engalana la presencia del profesor Kaushik Basu. Muchas gracias, maestro.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
Para quienes no lo conocen, él es el primer vicepresidente del Banco Mundial y también es economista en jefe de esta institución que ha tenido gran prestigio internacional y que ha hecho grandes cosas por las naciones. Professor, first question. You talk about and you study the idea of the invisible hand. What is this idea?
The idea of the invisible hand is originally from the father of economics, Adam Smith. Adam Smith pointed out in his famous book published in 1776 that individuals interested in their own surroundings, trying to maximize their own well-being, can bring about social order. It's almost as if an invisible hand directs the actions of lots of individuals to bring about social order. It's a very powerful idea. Very deep thought went into that. However, it is also an idea that has been misused a lot. And my book is largely, there are many other things in the book, but largely trying to place the important idea of invisible hand in the right context.
Well, why the invisible hand idea is considered the best way to get or to go to a better world?
It's considered to be the best way by a few people, and I think they are misguided. Just to leave it to the invisible hand, individuals doing whatever they want to do, will not take you to the best possible world. It can achieve a lot, but it will also do harm. Environmental damage it will do. It can create huge inequalities. Poor people can be left completely famished and malnourished. So the invisible hand has an important role, but along with that you need certain forms of collective action. The government, there are other forms of collective bodies which need to play a role to get the maximum out of the invisible hand.
Well, we know that you started this idea and you have several critics to this idea. In your recent book that you present today in Spanish, titled Más allá de la mano invisible, you do so many asseverations you do affirmations talking about this idea, the invisible hand idea. What are the principal critics to this idea and what are you proposing?
You know, a lot of economists, reasonable economists, I don't think will be critical of this. But there is a small fringe group who are completely market fundamentalists. They believe that the financial market, the goods market, everything should be left free. The government should not come in at all, and you'll get to optimality. That is the main criticism, but that criticism, fortunately, in economics has gone down. Now, most people realize that the invisible hand is important, but it also needs a little bit of assistance from a visible hand. So that's the line, but what kind of assistance it needs from the visible hand of the state, there is a lot of dispute. And my book takes a particular line saying that this is the way the state should act. This is the way collectivities should act to strengthen the invisible hand.
Well, talking about this idea on applied to public politics, what are the pros and the against to apply this idea on the public politics, but taking the 2008 crisis?
This book I finished writing it by the middle of 2009, so it does not really address the crisis directly. But the crisis is a great illustration of the complete free market, how it can go wrong. In the case of this crisis of 2008, it's in the financial sector we saw that. And we now know that in the financial sector, there can be Ponzi's, which are really schemes to cheat people out of their money. That also happens with the free market. If you leave it completely free to individuals, some people will come, they will plan a Ponzi and trap people into this. We saw a lot of that happening from 2008 onwards. So the 2008 is a confirmation of the fact that you do need intelligent regulation. But one thing I must say, the market will keep evolving. So good regulation does not mean you once make a regulation and then you go to sleep. It will work always. The market will evolve. There will be new challenges, new market behavior. So regulation also has to evolve. So you cannot write a book on regulation and say this is the last book on regulation. There will never be that. It will keep evolving over time.
Today you present this book on Mexico, and you said that you studied the relation with economics and law. You said some ideas about the law. What does the law needs to do to work correctly with economic theories?
I feel in many ways the part where I'm discussing law and economics is the most important part of this book. It's a complex enough argument, but in a nutshell I can tell you, in emerging economies especially, like Mexico, like China, like India, you will very often hear people say, the law is very good on paper, but it is not implemented. My take on law is that the reason the law does not get implemented is a deep mistake about the way we craft our laws. You have to design your laws in a way quite different from what we currently do. And I developed the idea of a focal point view of law, which is a new way to do law and economics in order to be able to implement law better. So the implementation is what at one level the law and economics part of the book is concerned with.
Okay, let's talk some about the World Bank. You are the Vice President of the World Bank, and we want to know what is doing the World Bank right now about the economics and the politics on economic topics.
You know, the World Bank is changing in good ways, I think, in important ways. For one, there's a lot of recognition in the World Bank that good economic policy involves more than just economics. It involves politics, it involves sociology, it involves psychology. And one sign that the World Bank is serious about this is that the next World Development Report, every year we bring out a World Development Report, the next one is on the social and psychological foundations of economic behavior. This is very unusual for us to go into this, but we believe that to understand economic performance of one country, why it does so well, why another country does badly, yes, you need to understand fiscal policy, monetary policy, but you also want to understand a little bit about sociology, the psychology of human beings. And so the World Bank has broadened its agenda over there. And in terms of other areas, the World Bank today is concerned, World Bank for a very long time was concerned with poverty eradication. But now, starting with last year, we have openly declared that we are also going to pursue inclusive growth. So we are going to pay attention not just to poverty removal, but inequality as well. That a society's growth should be inclusive. The bottom end of society should be catching up with the top end of society and not falling off from there, as has happened in many countries.
Well, what is doing right now the World Bank about the financial support programs for Mexico? We know Mexico participates in World Bank and has a relation, institutional relation, but what is World Bank doing for Mexico and with Mexico?
This is a detailed enough topic where I would not go into with the kind of precision you may want, but let me tell you broadly a couple of areas where we are engaged with Mexico. The environment, climate. This is a topic that is of interest to Mexico and it's of interest to the World Bank, so already there has been some engagement with that. The other is, just now I was telling you about inclusive growth and shared prosperity that the World Bank is talking about. Mexico has been among the most innovative countries in terms of how it has intervened to give social benefit to the poor. It's not all praise and no criticism. There is praise and criticism. But Mexico has been very, very innovative. With your oportunidades, earlier progresa, you've made experiments. The World Bank wants to take the best forms of intervention from one region to another. So I do believe that we are going to be more engaged with Mexico on these kinds of topics now that we are going into shared prosperity. And we hope that we will bring some good ideas to Mexico, and we will take some of the good ideas from Mexico for Brazil, for India, for South Africa, for different parts of the world.
You said from the last question about the World Bank works against the poverty, work in favor to the human development and other kind of topics. But what are the main actions they are working right now? What are the main programs, the main politics that are applying right now?
So the World Bank is engaged around the world on a variety of programs, from simple environmental improvements to road building so that people can go from one village to another and sell their products, to improving of waterways and the flow of basic needs from one region to another. And there are also countries where there is a certain kind of unusual environmental risk, like if there is a sudden earthquake or a tsunami. The World Bank is engaged in often very simple techniques can save a lot of lives. And I have seen in some areas like the Pacific Islands, where all you have to do is make escape routes for people when a big wave is coming. Announcement and escape routes. So these are ideas that we are taking all around the world and trying to implement them as effectively as possible.
Well, we know you are an academic, you do research, do you go classes, and we want to know, what are you preparing for the future? Your research, your future works. What will we read or what will we see in the future?
My future work will get influenced by my World Bank experience a lot. You realize when you come into a practical job like the World Bank job, and just before that for almost 3 years I was the chief economic advisor to the Indian government, so once again very hands-on, that a lot of the biggest challenges are in political economy. So you can have a very good theory of economics, but if you don't get the political economy of the country or the region right, you will make mistakes on the policy front. So when I go back to research, I want to use my experience, the experience with the world which I'm getting through the World Bank, and hopefully write some better research papers than I've done in the past.
Well, Professor, thank you very much for this time. We want to know if you want to say a message or you want to add something to this interview.
Well, really, the message is my book. The message of the book is there is a twofold message. Let me say it's a threefold message. One is that keep arguments as simple as possible when you can. At times we complicate arguments unnecessarily. You should not do that. Number two is that the method of economics needs to be viewed more innovatively. And number three, which is the most important for the lay audience, that in life, economics has been very concerned about efficiency. We want to make societies more efficient. But fairness and justice is also extremely important. So when you design economic policies, pay attention to efficiency, but don't make that the last thing that you're paying attention to. Pay attention to fairness and justice so that people feel included in society. That is the message of the book, and let that be my message. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We hope you visit Mexico again.
I love the country, and so I hope to come back.
Well, when we will hoping see your future work soon and reading in English or in Spanish or in the language you publish your recent works.
Thank you very much.